Hi guys, I just want to say firstly it's an absolute pleasure to be here. I speak firstly as a Scouser and then as a Yemeni, but I'll make sure I dilute my accent a little bit so you can understand me. So I've been invited to share some of my work, and one of the poems that I'm going to be sharing today is called Belong. And this poem invites you to a poem about immigration, a poem about acceptance, a poem about sacrifice, and then also that question of identity. And it is a topic and subjects that I speak about in my work. I probably contradict myself, but I think as a writer it's important that you go through that process of understanding who you are, who you want to be, and what do you want to label yourself as. It was only 6 months ago I only labelled myself as a Yemeni-Scouser because I didn't think I would ever be Scouse enough, but I think I am. So, belong. We swerved between checkpoints. An armed young man watched from a distance. An elderly man squatting in a dark corner stared. A group of veiled women on the balcony giggled, and I stuck my national flag out to the car window. Reds, whites, blacks faded. And the colour in my skin brushed against the plain window, and the wind blew me west. And I was there. I was there in a strange land, and I was there greeted. Soon we became friends, best friends. Too soon we betrayed our roots. My olive backcombed hair, I hated the smell, and my jet black hair falling down my back, too thick to carry, too different, I chopped it all off. And I was there in glass windows and brick walls, begging on the streets for a penny for a guy, watching the firework display, light up your new city and eat a halal Christmas dinner, sprinkle grandma's spices, a taste we've been trying to recreate even if we tried. And even if we tried, and soon my Scouse accent lingered on my tongue, and I wanted to feel wanted like that. But I made sure I did because I slept with my mother's voice in my ear. Never forget where you came from. But in my broken Arabic I said, Hada huwa biladi, Hada huwa biladi, this is all the home I need. And then a white boy shouts from the other side, Hey, where do you come from? I, picking at my skin scarred with mosquito bites to remind me what is marked shall never be forgotten. And in my perfect broken English, Scouse, I come from here. I come from here. He looks down at his hands, but your skin is dark. I stuck my tongue out. You want to come out and play? He nodded and smiled. We played piggy in the middle with his friends, and by sunset, it was my least favourite game. Because I couldn't sleep that night. Because there were sirens on my TV, and he looked like my uncle. Bearded, Arab, brown eyes, olive skin, terrorist, 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 as it was shouted down my ear. Pulling my scarf to the ground, and he left me there. You see, I kept God in a small box, and I learned how to cry. And then a white man on the bus whispered in my ear, when are you going back home? And I said, if home asks for my return, then I will return. And I'll meet her between the valley and the mountains, and you'll find me drinking water from her palms. You see, war has separated us. And I yearned to taste my mother's bread and knock at my friend's house to tell her maybe I do not belong here. But you see, girls like us, we kept singing to grandma beating her drums to remind us that we left our back doors unlocked so we may return to find our souls and faces never left. Because girls like us buried our mother's tongues in our back gardens to find the roots have outgrown even deeper. A sacrifice that haunts you every time you sing your mother's anthem. You see, you keep on dancing. You keep on dancing. Thank you. that I used, I'd never felt comfortable fully, but I think the idea of using language is about reclaiming that and feeling comfortable with it. If other people can use it, then so can I, because it does not define me. So I think that is one way of, breaking them barriers down, is reclaiming that language and use it. So yeah.
Great, thanks Amina. So really good to hear about that experience, really powerful.
Oh, thank you.
Just talk a bit about your experiences through Erasmus Plus.
Yeah.
We know you've just recently come back from a placement in Hungary, but you've also been through Erasmus Plus to Palestine and Israel. So what aspects of your Erasmus Plus experience have inspired your poetry?
Well, firstly, I'm going to talk about Hungary in Pacific. So there was 8 countries, and I think it was nice to have a mixture of people, especially from Eastern Europe. So we kind of broke a lot of stereotypes within 2 weeks. So the trip that I went for Hungary was to do with actors and for social change. So it was Pacific on a theme, which was even greater, the purpose was greater. So we were there for one purpose, and I think for myself, having 2 languages, it was nice to be in the room with people who could speak in them 2 languages. So we kind of connected with the idea of sacrifice and how much do we dilute our language to integrate. So there was stuff that we spoke about, how when I came to the UK, my first language was Arabic, but now my first language is English. So I had to kind of sacrifice my Arabic to learn English to integrate, and that is a really big sacrifice. So I think that's the thing that really inspired me, and you can tell in the poem Belong, I speak a lot about sacrifice, and it's about valuing my identity and understanding that I can be British and Yemeni, and it is absolutely gorgeous, it's exotic. But and also Scouse, a lot of people kind of go, oh yeah, you're a Scouser and a hijabi, and but then I'm like, yeah, I am. Hell, I am, and so yeah, and I think also what really inspired me is the narrative. We got to tell our own stories in them 2 weeks, and something that I always campaign about is who tells that story, because to be honest, I think everyone should have the opportunity to tell that story. No one should be telling anyone else's story, or we should be collaborating to tell each other's stories in the best way that represents the society that we live in today. So yeah, did that answer your question?
That's great. Yeah. How did the experience in Hungary, how does that help you develop your artwork?
I think it gave me a lot of confidence. A lot of confidence. I mean, just being here, I was always a nervous little child, so to be able to go on an exchange, travel away from home is a big part as a young person, and then away from your family for 2 weeks, with the same people for 2 weeks, and you have to create something at the end, so you have to work together, and which is great because it forces you to work with people you might not thought you'd work with before, or talk about stuff that you don't agree with. And what else? It allows me to come out of my comfort zone. So I've never been into theatre. I went into poetry. So to be able to do theatre, hardcore theatre, was really difficult for me. But I came out thinking, you know what, I can do this. So it gives you a lot of skills as well. And I would say collaborations. One of the biggest things about this exchange was networking. We've got a Facebook page now with like 40 of us on it, and now people are meeting each other in Germany and France, wherever we can meet, and to collaborate on some other art projects that we're doing in the future.
Excellent. And why do you think inclusion and diversity is important for Erasmus Plus and working with young people?
Okay, so in the most sarcastic answer, I would say, why not? And then secondly, it's the right thing to do. And thirdly, look at the room today. Just seeing so many different people from different organisations and places. But I think it's also, don't we want to represent the society that we live in? And it makes our work a lot easier as well. So that way, when we're doing a project and we wanna educate our next generation, we can say, well, we've done this and that and this, but this is what we've got, this and this and that to do. But it's also, and one thing I always talk about is, there might be diversity on the stage, in a crowd, but sometimes I always think, who is on the front line? Who's making them choices at the top? So one example was at university when I was studying, the books that we were reading were quite diverse, which I was quite happy with because I got to learn about a vast range of writers from all over the world. But then the lecturers that were teaching us were not quite diverse. So for me, it's kind of like, who's teaching it as well? So something that I myself as a facilitator, I always question, am I the right person to work in that place, or can I get someone else to do that? But then I can support that. So I think it is important, and I think also it's just really beautiful to see. We do live in a time in the world where, especially young people, there's a lot of political anxiety, and it is so refreshing to see so many young people just campaigning, protesting, but on the other hand, it is also who are we supporting as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't have an answer for that. Like, I've got a list, but I don't think there's one way to do it. I think if an organisation or person has the right intentions, it will happen eventually. But yeah.
Okay. So thanks very much for that, Amina.
No problem.
Amina will be with us all day. She'll be involved in the discussion groups, and I'm sure you'll have many people wanted to speak to at the break and the lunchtime.
Yeah, no problem. Can I just mention one thing also, because something important about Erasmus Plus, which is obviously you go on this exchange and then what next? And I just want to say, it allowed me to also write a new monologue. And from that, it was just a monologue that we wrote over a few days, and now it's got awarded, and now I'm able to continue doing that work in the UK. So I think that's important, the development after, what you do next with that work. So yeah, but I thought it was important to mention, because it's not just about an exchange, it's also the skills that I brought back to the UK as well. Thank you so much.